How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the 27th episode of Critically Incorrect. I am joined today by Charlie, if you wanted to say hi.
Hello.
Yeah, so as you, I'm sure, have already noticed, Justin isn't with us this week. He's just busy with some of his summer school classes right now, so that's completely understandable. It's also worth noting that we haven't uploaded, probably by the time you're seeing this, in about a week and a half. Just the past few weeks have been a little bit weird. We had some rendering issues with the last episode, which is why it was delayed by a few days. And then ultimately last week we were just all too busy, so we weren't able to get an episode out last week. Apologies on that, but we are back here to discuss the latest gaming news. And yeah, we have quite a bit of decent news to talk about today. But before we go into all that, I do want to quickly remind you to leave any suggestions, comments, feedback, any of the sort, either in the comment section down below or click the link in the description below to make our way to our Discord server. And yeah, with that being said, it's been a good few weeks since we talked, Charlie. So what have you been playing?
So since I last recorded the podcast, I think the main thing that I did play, not this week but the week before, was Mass Effect. I did end up buying the Legendary Edition on PlayStation. So over that weekend I had a day off and a fair amount of time to actually dive into it. So I went and played the first Mass Effect, which I really enjoyed. It is a little bit clunky and definitely isn't as good as 2 and 3 when it comes to age-wise. Like the gunplay and like cover mechanics just don't hold up that well. But it's still, like, story-wise and narratively, it's really good. And I had a lot of fun with it. And I did start up Mass Effect 2, although I've been really busy this week, so I haven't had a ton of time to dive into it. Outside of that, though, I've mainly been playing a lot of multiplayer stuff. I've actually been playing a lot of Modern Warfare multiplayer because I've been playing some Warzone and really wanted to try out some of the Modern Warfare guns that I never really used. So I've just been playing the multiplayer and grinding out guns and stuff, which has actually been surprisingly fun. Like, I'm really enjoying going back to that multiplayer just because it's a bit fresh coming off like Cold War and stuff. They play surprisingly different. And then other than that, I've also been playing quite a bit of zombies as well, just because the Easter egg did drop for the Outbreak mode on Cold War. So me and my friend Dan were playing through that and completed the Easter egg, which was a lot of fun. Took quite a bit of time, but we went and did that. And then just a bit of Apex here and there. But that's about it. I did want to try out some VR at some point this week. But I've just been so busy, I haven't been able to hop on really for that much time. So yeah, but that's about it this past few weeks, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, since I've last recorded, I have played, I think, about half of Resident Evil Village. I know you guys talked about it like 2 weeks ago. I haven't been able to finish the game yet. Honestly, I probably could have this week. I just have been choosing to wait so I could stream it. I did stream it for, I believe it was like 4 hours almost, like 2 weeks ago. So I kind of want to finish that up on stream as well. I think the goal is for me to do that on Monday. So actually, while you're watching this, if you're watching this on the weekend that this is coming out, check out my Twitch on Monday. Should be going live on that. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying the game. I don't think I like it more than 7 currently. I like how constrained and focused 7 was. I was just talking to Charlie about this like literally 5 minutes ago. But I feel like 7 knows what it's doing more. Obviously, these are just my impressions being like nearly halfway through the game. So I still have to experience the second half. But I'm enjoying it. It's definitely one of the better Resident Evil games, but not sure if it's going to top 7 yet for me. Besides that, Nocturne did drop last week for me since I did pre-order the Digital Deluxe Edition. I was only able to play like 45 minutes just because I didn't want to like really go into it too much because I was working the next day, and then ultimately I've just been kind of crossing the finish line since I'm graduating this week. So it's been kind of my focus there. Besides that, I haven't really played too many games. I've mainly been watching a lot of anime, so yeah, I guess I'll mention that. I've been watching Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, and then also just watched the Demon Slayer movie in theaters, so that's been pretty cool. But I definitely want to return to games with Nocturne and Resident Evil Village this week, and then also Returnal is still a thing. Which, Charlie, have you finished Returnal yet or no?
I haven't, no. I haven't had a chance to really dive back in. I really want to, but it's just one
Hmm.
of those games I need to dedicate a few hours to, and I
Yeah.
just haven't had the time to do that yet. So, but I want to dive back in, hopefully before Ratchet comes
I
out.
was about to say I want to do that before Ratchet as well, so it's gonna be a busy next 2 weeks here because that game is coming quickly. But yeah, anyways, I guess we'll go into the gaming releases as I kind of hinted at. Nocturne Foley came out this week. For digital deluxe owners, it dropped last Friday, but for anyone that was buying the game physically or even just a standard edition, it came out 2 days ago of when we're recording this on Tuesday. So definitely very big there. Nice to see that game finally on like a modern platform and not having to either emulate a PS2 or have an actual PS2 to play that game. So, I've already spoken about that probably too much on the podcast. So I'll save you guys here, but definitely, go check it out if you're interested in JRPGs. And then also Biomutant just came out as well, which seems to have a lot of mixed opinions on it. Did you want to go over anything about that, Charlie, based on what you've been seeing online?
Uh, Not really, no. Like, I haven't read too much into it, really. So,
Yeah, I just know that there's a lot of mixed opinions. I know, it's weird is like I think this was like pretty positive like the week before, and then when the full reviews came out this week, they were like a lot of them were surprisingly negative for I feel like a lot of people or something like that. So I
yeah,
don't know.
I
It's
think
been weird.
the overall thing was just kind of like it's very repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it's got some cool ideas and stuff. It just doesn't feel like they executed it that well. But yeah, I didn't read into it too much because I wasn't super like excited for the game or anything. It was on my radar just in case. But like I was saying to you just before we started, like it's probably a game I might try out in a few months or something if there's nothing else to play and I can pick it up for pretty cheap. But it's not something I would rush out to buy anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely show that. I haven't even seen like a second of footage, but definitely have been very vocal on Twitter this week. So, you know, interesting stuff over there. Nice to see that game finally announced because I remember that game was announced like years ago. So cool nonetheless. Anyways, I guess we'll start with one of our bigger news stories, the Switch Pro. So this has kind of been like a roller coaster of emotions for like the last 24 hours. Pretty much late last night, Bloomberg posted a piece that said Nintendo is likely to announce the Switch Pro model before their E3 showcase. They just said they had like insiders that were obviously knowledgeable of Nintendo's inner plans, and they said that going into E3 they wanted a lot of their games to be showcased on the Pro, and I imagine there might be some games that can only be played on the Pro possibly. So that was something that Nintendo wanted to get announced ahead of time. So I think like some insiders like Emily, and then I think Direct Feed Games, who are pretty notable on Reset Era, were hinting at on Twitter last night that it was possibly going to be announced either today or tomorrow on Friday. So who knows? If you're recording this, it could still possibly be announced on Friday in order to be known. But as of recording this, still no concrete information from Nintendo. They've been pretty silent on the Pro in general, but it's looking like at least within like the next week or so, we should be seeing some sort of announcement. Nintendo still has yet to even release, any like concrete news on their E3 plans. So, just in general, we should be hearing from them pretty soon here. More details were also, given in the Bloomberg piece about, overall the development of this device as well. They said that it's going to be entering production here in July, and then it's going to be ramping up like full on by, I believe, October, they said. So this thing, I believe, is planning to be released sometime in the fall, like October, November timeframe, like most handhelds or, gaming consoles, I guess, in the fall. So pretty interesting stuff there. Obviously, we kind of talked about the rumors in the past that this thing's going to be using NVIDIA DLSS as well as have an OLED display. So, Charlie, what'd you think about the news we got in the last 24 hours?
yeah, I saw all this news as I got up this morning. So I was kind of reading it when I was going into work, and like, yeah, I was really hoping we'd get an announcement today. There were a lot of rumors that because a lot of it was building up, and there was a lot of different reports from like Eurogamer and stuff all backing up this information saying, hey, yeah, we've heard the same thing, like you're going to hear about this sometime before E3. And this week did seem pretty likely. I know Jeff Grubb had also said on his like show this week that he'd heard that Nintendo were going to talk about their plans for E3 this week as well as Xbox. obviously we'll get into it later, but they did talk about theirs, so it's kind of just Nintendo we're waiting on now. So I would imagine if it's not tomorrow, or if you guys haven't heard already, it's probably going to be next week sometime, because then you've only got like a week or two left until the actual event, so that's not giving you too much headroom. But yeah, the articles were basically saying the reason they want to reveal it before E3 is they want to be able to showcase as many games as they can. And so if they don't show off the new hardware, there's probably going to be some games that they can't show off just because they might only be releasing on this new version of the Switch. They did also kind of mention that like they don't really know like a final name for it yet, because it's apparently going to eventually just succeed the normal Switch and it will replace it, kind of like they did with the new Nintendo 3DS, where eventually that was the only one you could get. So I think the idea is they'll have the Switch Lite and then they'll have a new Nintendo Switch, or whatever they want to call it. Although I hope to God they don't call it that, because it's such a confusing name. Like,
Oh my God.
just call it something simple like the Switch Pro, or like I don't even know. Like, I was gonna say the Switch I, but it sounded terrible with the DSi, so I don't know. But yeah, hopefully it's we'll hear about it soon. I also kind of hope that it is gonna launch alongside Zelda, but the fact that it's meant to be this fall kind of makes me think that it won't be. But yeah, I really hope it's with Zelda, because I would probably buy one if it was, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm honestly really excited about Nintendo's current position, because they're kind of in a position where they could show a lot of games that I'm personally looking forward to, and with E3, and then also just the Switch Pro in general. So like thinking about potential E3 announcements, obviously like an update on Breath of the Wild 2 makes sense, and possibly to hearing what the Mario team's working on, though that's a lot less likely. But even things like SMT5 is probably going to be shown off if it's still coming out this year. Although I'm kind of starting to get doubts on that, but we'll see. So yeah, really exciting time in general to be a Switch fan.
I was gonna say, I think the other big rumor for Switch games is that there's some kind of 2D Metroid game that's in the works right now.
Yeah,
that
for this year.
That is gonna still be a Prime series game. So I imagine it's gonna be some kind of prequel to Prime 4, and they're trying to get people ready for that. Hopefully in the next year or
two. Do you remember that Metroid 2D game that came out on the DS, like the year the Switch
Samus
came out?
Returns,
I think it's supposed to be like probably that same team, probably. I think.
Yeah, like, because Samus Returns was like a remake of Metroid 2, I think. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a sequel to that, or if it's another remake. I played a bit of Samus Returns and it was really good, so I hope they are working on something for the Switch, because I would definitely buy that. So hopefully that is true and we hear something about that at E3.
It's also Zelda's 35th anniversary this year, so hopefully in the fall time we'll get those classic HD remasters of like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. We got Skyward Sword coming here in July, so hopefully I think it'd make a really good addition to have a Switch Pro alongside the HD remasters. Not like they're gonna like utilize it that much, but just need those both. So.
Now we're just gonna get Zelda 35, the Battle Royale game.
Oh my God! You know where we're gonna get that too. We're definitely gonna get that. Man. Anyways, did you want to introduce this next topic, because you're just talking about it a bit before the podcast?
Yeah, so this is a good one to go in from the Switch Pro, but obviously when I was last on the podcast, I did bring up how Gabe Newell had done a talk at a school in New Zealand, and he was asked about if Valve and Steam in general would be bringing some more games to console, and they said they would have more to share later in the year. Well, thanks to SteamDB and some patches on Steam in general, they found some code names for some new hardware. And some articles came out from Eurogamer and I think ARS Technica, and Tyler McVicker also made a video on it, basically saying that they'd been hearing rumors for a while that Valve have been working on their own handheld Steam device, which is going to be running on Linux, and it will work very similar to a Switch, and that is titled Steampal, or at least that is the code name on Steam itself, and it seems like that they're basically putting up a lot of patches for this stuff because developers have got their hands on it, and it's probably going to be going into production some point this year. So it looks like it's going to be something we hear about soon. I think the current rumor is that there's going to be like multiple models, so there'll be like an Intel and an AMD one, which will be different specs, so you'll be able to get ones that are a bit cheaper that can run smaller games, and I imagine there'll be more expensive ones that run even higher end games. Whether this does well, I don't really know. Obviously, Valve have been making hardware for a while, and the past few times they did, it didn't work out too well with like the Steam controller and like the Steam boxes and stuff. So This is going to be a similar thing, but they're aiming at a slightly different market. Obviously, there's quite a few different companies trying to go for the Switch market now with things like GPD and I think Razer were working on something at some point. But if it's done well, I think a Steam OS based device on Linux could work really well. Being able to play a lot of PC games on the go, whether it's like Witcher 3, like a much higher resolution, or like Half-Life or Portal, like I would honestly, if it was a decent price, I would buy one just so I can play like Portal on the go and stuff like that. That's just a really cool idea. So yeah, hopefully we hear something about it soon. But it's a small thing, but I thought it should be worth mentioning.
Yeah, that's definitely big if that's actually happening. Yeah, like you said, Steam doesn't have like, or Valve in general doesn't have the best track record with hardware besides like the Index. So
Yeah,
immediately I'm kind of already hesitant. But yeah, when you said Half-Life and like Portal on the go, I wouldn't buy one, but that does sound good. So
yeah.
yeah, definitely interested in that. Anyways, we got a update on Dying Light 2 today, and ultimately I'd say it's pretty positive. Me and Charlie actually just got done watching the trailer now. They had like this showcase event, they live streamed it. There's a lot of like interviews about like, I think they had like hosts with the main voice actor for the main character of the game and talked about the world and stuff. But ultimately, a lot of people were there just there for the trailer and the date. So yeah, the trailer looks really good, focusing more on the gameplay aspects rather than like the world and the choices. And then we finally got a release date for December 7th. Charlie and I were talking about this, obviously December 7th is like very late in the year. So if it got delayed, it would be delayed out of the year easily. But it also could just mean that they're putting it at the very end because they want to give themselves the most time. But yeah, what did you think about the trailer and the date?
Yeah, I thought it looked pretty cool. It was good to see that it looks pretty good. I'm still a bit hesitant, I think most of the problems we were hearing were to do with the plot, and we haven't really heard too much about that. I do know when they last did like their Q&A thing, people were asking about the choices that you can make, and it seems like it's been dialed back a bit since the initial kind of pitch they had at E3 a few years back, where it was like every mission would have like some kind of impact on the world, and it doesn't seem like that's really the case now. And it seems like there is a very set amount of main story missions that will do certain things in the world, and then there's smaller missions where like you might talk to a character and then you see them in the open world doing something, but it's not going to have massive repercussions for the rest of the game. But then I always thought that I was a bit skeptical of stuff like that because it's very difficult to pull that thing off successfully. But overall it still looks really cool. Some of the combat and like traversal and stuff look great. So yeah, I definitely want to dive back into Dying Light 1 because I did enjoy what me and Brandon played. It's just getting back to it at some point because I've been so busy. But yeah, I'm excited to play it. It's a shame it's later in the year if it does come out this year. But yeah, hopefully it comes out and it's good. It's not buggy. And it'll just, yeah. I think a lot of developers, including Techland, have obviously looked at what happened with Cyberpunk and they're gonna take a few less risks when it comes to putting out games. So hopefully it means if they need to push it back, they will. Because I would much rather it just comes out when it's ready than just rushing it out for some Christmas sales. So
Yeah, it's definitely shitty because like it's a lose-lose at the end of the day. Like you rush it out and it's like a loss because obviously we see everything that happens to Cyberpunk. But then you delay it and then you're gonna get like memed online and shit like that. But ultimately that is the better decision because obviously the product being good at launch is what's most important. So yeah, I'm optimistic about the date. Again, like we don't really know what's going on internally. COVID's still a factor. It's getting better in certain parts of the world, but still a big factor across a lot of the globe currently. So yeah, who knows? Ultimately, I'm just glad the game looks good so far. It definitely impressed me what I saw today. And just can't wait to play it. Anyways, another thing we got today was actually like a Sonic kind of showcase. I wasn't following this too much. I've never really been a Sonic fan, but they announced Sonic Colors Ultimate, which is coming out on the 7th of December. And then they also said a new Sonic game was coming out in 2022. Did they clarify which game was coming out in 2022, or did they just say a new Sonic game?
it's basically they just showed a teaser, and they said it was a new game from Team Sonic. So it's like basically the next game from the guys who did like Generations and Forces and stuff. So hopefully it's good. I think recently I did see on Twitter that there was a leak in some like code, I think for like a Steam page or something like that, that it's called Sonic Rangers is the name, because they didn't give it a name. They just had like the logo, and then they just said 2022, and that's for like PS4, PS5, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I imagine it'll be a while before we hear that. I'm not getting too excited about it because I got really excited for Sonic Forces, and then I played that game before launch, and it was not very good. So I hope it's great. I am, however, really looking forward to Sonic Colors Ultimate, because that is one I have not played too much of, but it is a really good game, and a lot of people widely regard it as the best Sonic game of all time. It was exclusive to the Wii, so it's kind of limited in who could play it, but yeah, it was meant to be really good, so I'm excited to give that one a go. And it's not too far away, 7th of September, and that's coming out on like Switch, PS4, PC, all that kind of stuff. And then they did show off some other stuff, but it was mainly mobile game things. They did show off like an image of like the werewolf Sonic from Sonic Unleashed, but I had like the stream muted because I was at work, so I don't actually know what they said, and I thought they were going to show off like a Sonic Unleashed remaster, but they didn't. So if that was something cool, then I don't know, but it seemed like they were on about the mobile game at that point. So but yeah, those were the two main things to come out of the Sonic. I think it was called Sonic Central or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Definitely cool. I'm not really a big Sonic fan, so I'll probably just leave it there, but, cool nonetheless. And yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, PlayStation had some sort of like meeting. I think it was like some shareholder meeting. They kind of like updated the figures in terms of how the PS5 is performing and all that. One tidbit we got out of that was that the PS5 currently is about to become profitable about to break even rather in June. So obviously, when a console first comes out, a lot of times, the publisher will take a loss on hardware sales, just because honestly, it's really hard to make a profit, in the first year. And ultimately, they're about to break even. Usually in the first year, you recuperate these costs because obviously a lot of people are buying games for the system. So usually you try to get a lot, of software attachment to that, which the PS5 has had. But, cool to see that Sony's finally about to, make profit on the actual system itself. Alongside this, probably the biggest news was them talking about, PlayStation's focus on the PC area. They talked about how Horizon's been kind of expanding, its player base, ever since it dropped on PC. And then they talked about, Days Gone as well. That one they couldn't really talk about too much because obviously that one's like very fresh on PC. But the big thing here was they teased that Uncharted 4 is coming next on PC because it was like underneath like the, to be coming, soon was... Yeah, essentially Uncharted 4. It was really weird. I don't know why they would pick Uncharted 4. I think I talked about this before on the podcast, but to me, it made sense to do like God of War or Bloodborne next, just because those are like new IPs. That's kind of what the trend they've been doing with Horizon and Days Gone. Uncharted 4, like having the PC audience play that game before 1 and 3 or 1 to 3 is really weird to me. Obviously, Uncharted 4 will still sell no matter what. It's still a fun game to play, but yeah, definitely a weird choice. What'd you think about that, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a number of things. At first, I thought, well, maybe it's due to the fact maybe just 1, 2, and 3 are difficult to port over to PC, just because obviously they were originally PS3 games ported over to PS4, so it might be a bit more hassle to get it working on PC. It also could just be that, this investor call, they did list like Days Gone as upcoming, so this was done a while back. It might literally just be, hey, let's just put Uncharted 4's logo, but we're going to put them all on PC. Like, it might be as simple as
True.
that. When it comes to, like, not having God of War and stuff there, for me, the whole thing with bringing the games to PC was always that Sony were not making as much money off physical or digital sales on these games anymore, and so that's why they put them on PC. I imagine God of War is still selling a lot of consoles for them. I imagine a lot of people are still going out and buying the game alongside consoles as well as digital sales. Uncharted 4, I imagine, has slowed down a lot over the years. Same with Horizon, and obviously Days Gone didn't do amazingly well. So that's more why they put them on PC. Obviously Horizon makes a lot of sense because they want you to go out and buy the console now for the sequel. And I would assume God of War is eventually going to come to PC before Ragnarok or whatever it's going to be called comes out, just to boost those sales. But yeah, I think it's a great move. Like I'm excited. I will probably end up buying it on PC, because it's one game that I would really like to experience at full 60 FPS, and I don't know if we're ever going to get.
Imagine if we get the
for
PC
PS5,
version
so
at 60 FPS, but we don't get the PS5 version.
yeah,
That'd be hilarious.
I also just would love to. I hope it comes with the multiplayer as well, because I'd really love to try out the multiplayer on PC. I think that could be really fun, and it might bring some fresh life to that multiplayer. So
That's true.
I'd be interested to see if it's just the single player, if they bring it all across, because that'd be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely interesting. I definitely welcome Uncharted 4 coming to PC. I welcome pretty much all the games coming to PC, because it's not like I really care about that. That means more people get to play them, especially if they're not making many sales anyway. You know, it makes sense to make profit that way. We didn't write this on the doc, but it's worth noting that we finally got Last of Us Part 2 60 FPS update. They surprised us with this last week. It was really like, I believe, a shadow drop. They just said, it's out today. I believe they made some improvements to resolution as well a bit. So it's pretty much exactly what God of War got. So definitely nice to see that Naughty Dog did that. I no doubt, I don't know. I don't know if for sure we're going to get like a Last of Us Part 2 PS5 version, but I feel like they might still work on that because, I don't know. I feel like you're losing money if you don't have like a Last of Us remake with, a Last of Us Part 2 Game of the Year edition with like factions. Like that triple combo always made so much sense to me. You could charge $70 for all that. But yeah, at least we got the free update. That's definitely needed because obviously that's, we gotten like every other big game has received like a 60 FPS update besides Uncharted 4 now and Bloodborne. So yeah, definitely nice to see. Definitely needed that. I tried it for like 2 minutes or so. Obviously I'm not going to go replay it right now, but yeah, it's definitely nice to have, and it's, something long overdue. So do you have any thoughts on that? Did you play it?
I haven't had a chance to. I do want to get around to replaying it at 60 FPS, but the problem is I have it on disc, and so it takes a while to install, and it's a big install size. Too. So yeah, I'll probably hold off for a bit. I do know they said in the blog post that they're looking at other ways to utilize the PS5, so hopefully we'll get some more patches where they might add some like more haptic feedback or something. I don't really know how that works because obviously it is still a backwards compatible game, so they are limited in what they can do. But maybe just bring that storage size down a bit, because I know like Days Gone and God of War, they take up a lot less space now on PS5 just because of being on the SSD and stuff. But Last of Us is still like an 80 gig game or something crazy. So
yeah, it's crazy.
I do want to replay it at some point at 60, but it'll probably be a little while before I go back to it.
Yeah. And then continuing on with the PlayStation chain of news, they did announce the June PS Plus games. Similar to May, it's kind of a sleeper hit or a sleeper month. This one more than May, probably for me as well. So Operation Tangos is our big PS5 game. You probably haven't heard of it. It's like a co-op game, you said, right, Charlie? Essentially.
Yeah, as far as I remember, it's like a co-op game where one of you is like a spy, and then I think the other one is like managing cameras or something. I think that's what the game is. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I have a feeling that's what that is.
Who knows? Maybe it will be a sleeper hit. But yeah, Squadrons is also for the PS4. That's obviously Star Wars Squadrons, which I believe, it just came out last October, so that's nice to see. It's also a game I've been wanting to play, so nice to see, it get dropped there. And then Virtua Fighter for the PS4. I believe Virtua Fighter, that one is like a day and date release, right? Possibly.
Yeah, so Virtua Fighter 5's coming out same day as it is on PS Plus. That had been rumored for a little while, but yes, that is coming to PS Plus day one, which is pretty cool.
Nice. And speaking of 5, Unreal Engine 5 released in early access this week. So yeah, just early access, obviously, Unreal Engine's like an open source, or not open source, but an open development platform for you to, pretty much work on games and other various projects that Unreal supports. And yeah, it's pretty much an early access, so you can go ahead and download it if you want and go try it out. I believe there was like a demo that was released alongside it that has like the main protagonist from that, Unreal Engine 5 demo. It also includes like this big robot that has like, I think, what did they say, like 5 million something pixels on it, something big number. Crazy. That's impressive. Yeah, so yeah, definitely go check that out if you're in the development side of things. And yeah, anyways, going into some probably our bigger news stories this week, we finally got some more E3 plans outlined, and yeah, I couldn't be more excited. So we'll start off with Xbox and Bethesda. So obviously, ever since Xbox acquired Bethesda, we knew that, their E3 was probably going to be noticeable, bigger, because both of them traditionally had their own, E3 press conferences in the past, and now it's going to be one big showcase since they're, one entity now. So yeah, the Xbox and Bethesda event was, I believe, called an Xbox Bethesda Showcase. That's going to be coming out on the 13th of June. I believe it's Sunday, right, at 10 in the morning. So definitely very, very cool, time frame there. Around the same time that we kind of expected Xbox to have a showcase. Usually they would have one around like that Sunday night or Sunday morning before the following week. So nice to have that outlined. And then I guess I'll just mention these both together. Jeff Keighley announced his Summer Game Fest kickoff event. So Charlie mentioned this in the past that Jeff Keighley was working on condensing Summer Game Fest this year. And yeah, we kind of saw, the first kind of real announcement here, and it's going to be, a condensed show to kind of kick off the summer. So I believe he said it's going to be like a 2-hour showcase featuring over like 30 games, everything from like the smallest indies to, big, games that people have been waiting for. So very exciting. I believe that one's going to be June 10th on, I think it's a Thursday. Is it like an afternoon in the morning? I actually forgot.
I imagine it's going to be like morning, lunchtime.
11 a.m. Pacific time. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it'll be like, evening time for me.
So very cool. We got 2 more showcases. I believe we already knew that Ubisoft was going to be that week. I think they're on the 12th. So
yeah, I want to say they're on the Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, so we got 3 showcases now for that week, and they're all going to be like over an hour long. So, it's starting to feel like E3. So what'd you think about those 2 announcements?
Yeah, I'm excited for both. I think the biggest thing with the like Xbox Bethesda one is on the logo is very clear that Starfield's going to be a big thing. You can very clearly see the planet they use on the bottom is the same one from the Starfield logo. So I think a big blowout for Starfield is probably going to be how they either open or close the show with hopefully some cool gameplay there. I think for most people, no one's really hyped about at the actual game itself. They just kind of want to see it just because it's like such a unique looking thing. Like it's gonna be No Man's Sky meets Fallout, and I'm really interested to see how that turns out. I know there was a big thing about that the past few weeks about how it might be this year, but it seems very likely now that it's actually going to be end of next year, which I'm fine with. I'm all for just waiting for that game. Like I'm not in a rush to play it. But yeah, that showcase should be really cool. I really hope we see Wolfenstein 3 there. I feel like it's been a long enough time now that we're finally going to get that, just to round off the Wolfenstein story, because I'm a big fan of that newer series that Machine Games have been working on. So hopefully we hear about that this summer. And yeah, just seeing more of some of the other games that they're working on, maybe a bit more Ghostwire, because we haven't seen too much of that.
Ghostwire is isn't Ghostwire like a console exclusive on PS5 though?
Yeah, so that's one of the console exclusives, yeah.
So how is Deathloop and Ghostwire? Are they just not going to be at this showcase?
I imagine this. That's a point. Yeah, maybe they won't be there.
So you can't advertise it. Yeah.
I mean,
I imagine they'll be at PlayStation because they were already at a PS5 event.
Yeah, maybe they won't be. But
there's no way they show up with Deathloop and they're like out on PS5 because like you can't talk about the Xbox release date. Well, I mean,
I also wouldn't be surprised if they did show it there, because they're probably gonna split the Bethesda stuff up from the event. Like it'll be in the same showcase, but I imagine one half will be Xbox and another bit of it will be Bethesda, so they could easily talk about it.
I wish it would be sprinkled in without, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, either way, if it's there, it's gonna be weird no matter what. So, but yeah, hopefully we see some more of that if we can. On the Xbox side, I really just want to see Halo and just see what's going on with that. Hopefully we get an actual date for that. Yeah, because I do hope Halo's good. Like, I'm not a big Halo fan, but I feel bad for all the fans that had to watch that demo, because man, that did not look good. So yeah, I hope that's looking really good. Maybe we'll see some other stuff, but honestly, I think it's going to be pretty quiet for Xbox at E3 this year. I don't think they're going to be showing too much off, because they have announced a lot of stuff for the future, and I don't think a lot of it is ready to show yet, but they wanted to let people know that stuff is in the works, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see too much. Maybe some footage of like Fable or something. But yeah, other than that, I don't think we're going to see too much. On the Summer Games Fest side, I'm actually really excited for that event, just because Jeff does a really good job of putting together his shows now, like Gamescom opening night live, and then obviously Game Awards. And he has said that this is going to be a similar scale with this event, so I do hope it's pretty good and well spread out over that 2 hours. Hopefully we get some cool new announcements, as well as stuff we might have heard about from obviously the partners that he's with. I was kind of hoping that maybe they'd have like some Warner Brothers stuff there, because I know they have partnered with them again, so maybe some Gotham Knights or something.
They have their own DC fandom.
But yeah,
back, right?
they do have DC fandom, but that isn't until October this year.
Okay.
So that, unless they're now saying October's part of summer, then Warner Brothers have got something else over the summer. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Lego Star Wars there, because that was shown off at Gamescom, and that got delayed again, and I don't know what's going on with that game, and I really want to see what's going on there.
Warner Brothers doesn't have a single game coming out this year, do they? Because all of them got delayed to 2022, right? Because I know Harry Potter and Gotham Knights was...
Yeah, we already knew Suicide Squad was 2022. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think if they have, it's nothing crazy. They might be publishing Dying Light 2, because I think Warner Brothers published the first one.
Okay.
But yeah, they don't have anything like major coming out this year now.
Yeah, for me, I think Elden Ring fits either Xbox or Summer Game Fest. We'll definitely get it in one of those. Probably Xbox, just because. What?
Will we? Will we get Elden Ring?
We should, dude. It's been like crazy how long it's been since we've heard it. Like, I used to meme it saying like, relax, it's only been a year, but now it's been like 2 years since we've seen the game. And like, especially with the leaks that happened like a few months back, we have to see it. Bandai Namco's already a part of E3, like, and no doubt we have to see it. If it's not here, then that game's going through some development issues, and I blame the fucking writer of Game of Thrones. So yeah, hopefully we'll see that. And then Summer Game Fest is kind of like a random one. I think we'll probably see like similar partnerships to what we see at the Game Awards, since it's obviously Jeff Keighley's own thing. So yeah, that one always is surprises, because you never really know what to expect at those shows, but those always are, pretty fun. So nice to have that there. Anyways, actually, what just broke now is actually a Last of Us HBO casting. Merle Dandridge is going to be reprising her role as Marlene in Last of Us for HBO. So I think that's perfect casting, because obviously she matches the voice and she matches the look for Marlene. So definitely very excited about that. I know, Charlie, you're happy about that, since she's Miss Alex Vance.
Alex, exactly. Bringing her more stuff. No, that's really cool that she's coming back for that. Obviously, she's a little bit older now, so I don't know how she'll look on screen compared to, like Pedro Pascal and stuff. But yeah, I think it's really cool that she's coming back to play the role. It's great that they brought her on. So overall, I'm really excited for the show anyway. I think it's going to be really good. I will be shocked if it's not at this point. I guess we can kind of bring it up since we're here, but like,
Uncharted movie.
We saw the first like 2 seconds of Uncharted footage this week.
Oh man.
Where it was like a tiny shot of them in a club or something. They're in suits. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it looks okay. I'm still interested in watching it, but like the screenshots and stuff they showed, it just looked like a generic film. It didn't look like anything special. But yeah, I'm still interested in watching that. So, but yeah, The Last of Us show is definitely something I'm way more interested in.
Speaking of the Uncharted movie, like, just literally solely, what the hell are they doing with him? Like, he doesn't have his mustache, and he was like wearing like some futuristic like attire. Like, that's not what Sully wears at all. Like, I get,
yeah,
like,
I
obviously
don't know
they're
what
gonna take liberties.
With the mustache,
but...
like, why does he not have one? I think that's really weird.
Yeah, they're taking liberty. Like, he literally looks like Nate in all the shots. Like, it looks like young Nate and big Nate. Like, it doesn't look like Sully. Like, I can't see Sully at all. Like, they're not even trying to make him look like Sully. So yeah, like, I'm fine with Holland so far. He looks fine as young Nate. But Jesus Christ, like, has anyone that played actually the Uncharted series that's working on that movie with Sully? Like, holy hell. How do you not give him a Hawaiian shirt? Like, what the fuck? Come on.
I don't know what's going on there. I guess we'll have to wait and see for a trailer, which hopefully it's soon.
I mean, hey, we're getting footage now, so that's like good sign that, we'll probably see a trailer hopefully in the summer maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyways, Far Cry 6 is getting its gameplay reveal. Actually, by the time you see this, it's already happened. It's going to be happening the day after we're recording this. Interestingly enough, it's already leaked online, and lo and behold, it looks like Far Cry. So anyone thinking that Far Cry 6 was going to break, the traditional belt of what Ubisoft's been doing for the past few years, I don't know what you're thinking. So yeah. Obviously, we'll still wait to judge it before we get that official, reveal from Ubisoft themselves, but I can speak for myself that I'm not really looking forward to this. The only thing I'm looking forward to this game is potentially a good story with, the great casting that we have for the villain so far. I forget his name, but yeah, just
Giancarlo Esposito.
There we go. Yeah, that's the only reason I'm looking forward to this game so far. What'd you think, Charlie?
Yeah, I had a quick look at like the leaked stuff, and yeah, it does look just like more Far Cry. I enjoyed the Far Cry games. I wasn't the biggest fan of 5, so I will probably skip 6 unless it's like everyone's saying how amazing it is, but I'll probably hold off and wait to play it for a bit. But yeah, I will watch the gameplay tomorrow when it comes out. I think it's interesting that Ubisoft are doing this. I think a lot more companies are trying to, like what we've seen with obviously Horizon this week, they're trying to put out gameplay before their big events, which I think is a great idea because it means that people have an idea of what the game's like going in, and you can just show shorter trailers to keep it a bit more concise. So hopefully this means when Ubisoft Forward happens next month, or I think it's next month, right? Or is it July? I think
it's June. No, it should be June.
Yeah, it's EA. I think that's July.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully when that happens, we get a lot less long gameplay, and just some shorter trailers and gameplay for things that we might not expect. Just because things like Far Cry, they always take up space in the shows, and like we know what we're getting into, we don't need to see a long demo of it. So I think this is a good way to do it. I do know there's going to be a lot of stuff up tomorrow as well, because they did a preview event last week with some YouTubers and stuff. So like Jack Frags was talking about it in some videos this week. So there's going to be a lot of footage and things that goes up tomorrow. So plenty for people to watch over the weekend.
Cool. Yeah, very exciting. I definitely agree with you. I think getting these long gameplay segments out of the way, ahead of time makes sense. Just because it ruins the pacing when you have these like showcases and then you stop for 10 minutes to focus on a one particular title. You all see it in chat when like one, commentator is talking about the various game mechanics. It just drags on a bit. It's nice to just have that as its own separate thing like we saw with Horizon today. And then I think, with showcases in general, like look at the Future Gaming Showcase we got last year with PlayStation. I think that's like kind of the perfect pacing. You go from trailer to trailer. Not every publisher has the leisure of showing off like trailer after trailer. Obviously, look at EA. You can't really show like so many trailers back to back. They kind of have to rely on going in depth on like FIFA and stuff because they don't really have much to show, really, if you think about it. But definitely when you can, like in these cases, it's the smarter decision for a better show. So good on them. Anyways, we'll move on. Dead by Daylight finally got like its full trailer for its Resident Evil update. They showed this off like a few weeks ago at that Resident Evil showcase, and it was kind of vague. But we finally got confirmation that Leon Kennedy will be one of the survivors, as well as Jill Valentine, and then the hunter or the killer is going to be Nemesis, which is really really cool. This is going to be going alongside a map that takes place in Raccoon City. It's pretty much the very first minutes of Resident Evil 2, I believe. Actually, is it 2 or 3? I think it might be 3 actually. It would be 3 with Nemesis actually. Yeah, so it's definitely like
the map is the police department. So
yeah.
It's literally the area from 2.
Oh, so it is the area 2, but with Nemesis.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really weird, but okay. Nonetheless, check out the trailer. It looks cool. Obviously, it's a multiplayer game, so it's going to be very hit or miss for a lot of people, but I definitely might reinstall the game since I have a few friends I like to play the game with and check that out. So really cool to see that collaboration. And we got Silent Hill and like Stranger Things in the past, so it's nice to see a lot of cool collaborations. And yeah. Anyways, we'll move on. Borderlands 3 is receiving a crossplay update this week, I believe. It got certified. But sadly, the one platform it won't be coming to is PlayStation. The details they said is like pretty much the publisher is restraining it from having crossplay on PlayStation. But mainly, you can kind of tell the fault lies with PlayStation. This kind of coincides with like the news we heard from the Epic versus Apple lawsuit with the fact that PlayStation charges for, compensation. Through game like crossplay means like if a platform receives more compensation on like Xbox, but the playtime is more on PlayStation, Sony wants funds because of that. And yeah, it looks like Borderlands 3 sadly won't be receiving crossplay. This news broke by the way of Randy Pitchford, I believe, on Twitter today. So very shitty to see. I don't like how Sony is very stingent on this stuff. Like, I get they're a business and they need to make money, but losing reputation like that is very stupid in my opinion. Over something so petty, because it's a win-win. Like, even if you're not making the exact same percentage, I guarantee you, if you look at it overall, you're going to be making more money with crossplay, just because it keeps people invested.
It's a weird one with Borderlands 3 as well, because it's not like it's a game where you're buying in-app purchases. Like,
I mean, they have DLC. That's the thing,
right?
I think they're trying to avoid people buying this DLC on like Xbox and shit.
But you wouldn't be able to do that.
Actually,
right?
wait, that wouldn't be. That would be crossplay.
Yeah, it's literally just
that's
crossplay,
true.
allowing you to play with your friends. So it's a really weird one. I don't know why they're not.
Actually, that's true. Yeah, it is only
through.
crossplay. Actually, so everything I said was actually false. So yeah, crossplay. Yes. That's interesting. Why they're not allowing that then, or why they're pulling it from that.
Super weird. It basically, how Randy was putting it was that to get certified, Sony were basically stopping them from putting crossplay in, and so it seems like rather than trying to work out a deal, 2K were just like, well, we need to get this update out, so just don't put crossplay on PlayStation so we can get this certified and put it all out on all the platforms. But there has been a lot of like uproar on Twitter and stuff today, so hopefully Sony will basically say, hey, yeah, we made a mistake. We should probably start letting more people do crossplay when it isn't this big a deal anymore. So, yeah, hopefully something comes of it, because I know a lot of people aren't happy about it, myself included. I think it's really dumb, especially when it comes to just crossplay. Like, what difference does it make? Just let people play with their friends no matter what platform they're on. It's just a win-win for everyone in the situation. So,
yeah, that's true. It's really dumb. I know Sony's shirt in general is like kind of notorious for being very strict and stingent on this shit, so it's very annoying. Yeah, sadly Sony just seems to be stuck ass in a lot of ways, and very hard on certain policies. It's very stupid. Anyways, in other news, Crystal Dynamics announced this week on Twitter and just in general, I believe on their blog, that they're going to be having a new support studio launch up in Austin, Texas called Crystal Southwest. Immediately when this was announced, I kind of thought that maybe this is like a smaller team that would work on, Avengers, while the other team would work on like, their next single player game. Obviously Crystal Dynamics has kind of like been taking on more projects lately, so not the biggest surprise. I definitely do think it's still surprising considering Avengers didn't exactly sell well. But nonetheless, obviously Crystal Dynamics themselves as a studio is, still very promising. So nice to see them expand like that. And yeah, just a very small news there. Do you have anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I hadn't actually seen this story, so I haven't really got anything to add. Yeah,
it's just a support studio. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's a weird one. Like, I imagine it's just a case of they have a lot of staff members and they were probably hiring people from across the country, and so they were just like, we should probably just open another smaller studio just to help out and things. So, but yeah, it's interesting to see they're expanding when Avengers didn't particularly do too well for them. So,
yeah. Anyways, as the weeb I am, I had to include this. Sega Asia this week confirmed that there is going to be an English localization of the Demon Slayer game that's coming out this year. Yeah, it's like a fighting game. It's not like the traditional fighting game that you'd think of like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. I think it's more in line of like the Naruto fighting games and maybe the Dragon Ball fighting games.
Like
not
the
too
3D
familiar.
one.
Yeah, like the 3D fighting game. So yeah, I've seen gameplay of it. It looks really cool. I definitely will pick it up when it comes out just because I really like Demon Slayer. But yeah, definitely cool to see that it's going to be getting an English localization there, and hopefully we'll get a date soon. Anyways, one of the bigger announcements this week was actually, I believe, like last night, they announced that Dragon Quest 12 is announced. So I'm sure you guys have all seen like Dragon Quest 11 thrown around. It's, one of the more popular JRPGs of like the last few years. Just because that game was, really critically acclaimed. And it's now, I believe, even on Switch. They finally announced 12, so that's very exciting. I think they also announced like a remaster of one of the older ones. I think it was like 3 or something like that. So cool to see that finally get announced. I know people have been waiting for Dragon Quest 12 for some time, and it's official. Anything you want to add there? I don't know how familiar you are of Dragon Quest.
Yeah, I'm not like a Dragon Quest fan or anything. I saw the news when I got up this morning, but I didn't really read too much into it. I know there's like they're doing a remaster of, I think it's Dragon Quest 3 or something.
Yeah.
And some mobile stuff. But yeah, it's not really something I'm too like knowledgeable on. I think they also mentioned that they're doing another Heroes game or something, which I think is like the spin-off or something, or something like that.
It's like a side game. Nice. Yeah, I do want to play 11 still. I actually played the demo on my Switch, and I really enjoyed it. I just never really forked over $60 on it because I never really wanted to commit the time to play something like that. Don't know when I'll get to it, but it's definitely on the very large list of games I want to play. So, yeah, definitely happy for everyone, excited for that. And we'll move on to our last story, which is probably our biggest one. Yeah, Sony decided to drop a Horizon Forbidden West State of Play this week. This was a big surprise to me on Tuesday when they announced this. I woke up and people were like, we're getting Horizon Forbidden West gameplay on Thursday. I surely thought we'd get that at like E3 or something, but yeah, Sony's knocking it kind of out of the way as we hinted at earlier. It was a 14 minutes gameplay slice. I guess I'll give my thoughts real quick here. I streamed it, so if you want to like visually see my reactions, you can. But essentially, I thought that it looks really beautiful. I think that's probably the biggest thing going for the game right now is just how good this game looks. Like highlights to me are like when she's swimming underwater, her hair looks like really impressive. I definitely think the world as well looks really, graphically beautiful on the scale of possibly even like Demon Souls or more. Still surprising for, a game being on the PS4 that it looks that good. I do think it still plays it quite safe, but at the same time, I don't know what else they could really do differently. My biggest complaint with the original was always the human conflict. Like, it would always be very awkward, and this one, it looks like they have like combo moves and, more fleshed out melee combat, which looks really cool. I found it very funny how they added like a paraglider, because obviously this game, the original one launched like alongside Breath of the Wild, so I can only imagine the developers were like, fuck, this game has like a paragliding system and our game doesn't. And obviously that was like a very big inspiration for a lot of open world games where you'd add like a glider where you can obviously access more of the map that way. This one, interestingly enough, doesn't look like it's really for like traversal reasons. It looks more like for combat reasons. I don't know, it looked very hindering in terms of like how far you can go laterally, but still, obviously a glider. But yeah, it looks more like Horizon, more of the same. So if you liked Horizon, you'll be looking forward to this. So yeah, it's kind of my thoughts there. What'd you think about it, Charlie?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was a fan of the original, so I was interested to see what they were doing with the sequel. But yeah, like you, I think it looks pretty. Like, I don't think it was like the most impressive thing I've seen, but I wasn't expecting it to be. Like, it started and I thought, yeah, this looks good. I don't think the faces are still that great. And when it started, I was kind of like, yeah, this is a shame that it's being limited by PS4 a little bit. But honestly, like, it still looks like they're taking advantage of PS5, and I do think it looks really good. I think for me, the biggest improvements that looked really cool was stuff like being able to swim underwater and explore like that, as well as the melee combat looked really good. And like the new ways in like the enemy armor system was working and things, and like she used like a special move with her spear and stuff. I thought that was really cool. So because I think for me the weakest part of the game was probably the melee combat when you were fighting against the hunters and stuff. Like, that stuff just kind of sucked compared to fighting the big monsters and stuff. So I'm glad they seem to be improving that quite a bit. I do think it's interesting you mentioned the glider, because obviously there's the whole Zelda comparison, but also there's a grapple hook which seems to work very similarly to the Zelda hook shot from like the older Zelda games, so they've also got that as well. They've also got the some cool new features with her scanner, so now you're able to climb a lot more environments in the world, it seems, which is pretty cool. It almost was like the Uncharted yellow, where like
I like that
highlight ledges and stuff. I was like, that's pretty cool.
It doesn't ruin the environment for you really if you're just like running through it naturally, but then you highlight it and you can immediately see where you need to go, which is cool.
Exactly. So that's pretty cool. I hope that means that you can climb a bit more. They didn't explore it too much, but I'm kind of hoping there's a few more vehicle options. She does hack one of like the new creatures, and it seemed quite slow, but I really hope, because there seems to be a lot more water in the game, there's some kind of boat vehicle, or like hijacking like one of the crocodiles or something, as well as maybe some of like the flying and things, because there was a lot of like the bird things flying in the air, and you do see those really tall like overgrown buildings. So I really hope there is some really cool like new traversal options in the game. for when you're outside of combat. I imagine we'll see a lot more of that closer to the launch, and I think that was the other big thing, was like there was no date or anything, but they did say afterwards in a blog post that they'll have an update on the release date very soon, so I imagine there's going to be some kind of event around E3 where we'll get another trailer, presumably a story one, and a date for the game, because hopefully it is still this year. I imagine
Sounds
it's going
like
to
it
be
is.
like it seems like they're on track with what they were saying in the blog, and this is probably going to be Sony's big release for the end of the year, so I imagine they don't want to delay it at this point. But yeah, overall I thought it looked pretty good, but I wasn't like surprised by it. It was what I expected, just more Horizon, prettier, and looks more fun.
Yeah, same exact thoughts here as well. So yeah. And then, yeah, looking at the weeks ahead, hopefully this means that PlayStation will announce their plans. We're currently waiting on PlayStation and Nintendo. Nintendo have already announced that they're going to be at E3 this year. They just haven't really announced like a specific showcase of any sort like that. So, yeah, should be pretty cool. I imagine we'll probably do our E3 predictions next week if we can get Justin to join us as well. Probably smart to do that since that will literally be like a week before everything. So, should be a really fun episode next week now that I'm thinking about it. And yeah, thanks for joining me, Charlie, this week. It was nice to talk about the various gaming news, and really feels like we're starting to enter E3 here. So exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Exciting times.
For sure. And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. If you're still here, definitely very exciting coming weeks, and should be a really cool time overall. Anyways, we'll see you next week for episode 28 of Critically Incorrect. And until next time, take care.
See you later.